Russia's Security Council has warned that the US is getting ready to intervene in Venezuela and topple the embattled President Nicolas Maduro. Up to now, Washington has only thrown its support behind self-declared President Juan Guaido, slapping sanctions on officials in Maduro's government as well. It's also urged other Western nations to back the removal of the democratically elected president from power. Well, the Secretary of the Russian Security Council now says that US troop movements to Colombia and Puerto Rico are precursors to a military invasion.
Other facts clearly indicate that the Pentagon is strengthening its troops in the region to oust legally elected President Maduro. The Venezuelan people understand this well, hence their reaction, their refusal to accept the goods from the aggressor country and support their president.
Well, the Security Council also added that the humanitarian crisis which Washington claims is plaguing Venezuela is a consequence of American sanctions and embargoes and is being used as a tool to involve itself in Venezuelan domestic affairs. The warnings from Russia come shortly after President Maduro called out the US for preparing to wage a war over Venezuela's vast oil resources. Now, he believes Washington is stirring discontent in his country.
The United States wants Venezuela's oil, and they're willing to go to war for that oil. They're trying to fabricate a crisis to justify political escalation and a military intervention in Venezuela.
Well, his words come as members of the so-called Lima group gathered in Colombia with opposition leader Juan Guaido and US officials to discuss the Venezuelan crisis. That's a bloc of 14 predominantly Latin American countries, and it's sending an appeal to the International Criminal Court demanding that it consider the humanitarian situation in Venezuela. Breaking down that story for us, Caleb Maupin.
Mike Pence was speaking to the Lima group in Bogota, Colombia, about the crisis in Venezuela. Now, when he addressed the grouping, he gave his full support on behalf of the United States to Juan Guaido, who proclaimed himself to be the interim president of Venezuela. Furthermore, he said that new sanctions against Venezuela were in the works. 4 individuals in the Venezuelan government have already been named by the U.S. Treasury. Mike Pence, who offered amnesty to any folks in the military of Venezuela who would switch sides and come over to Guaido's side, and he then offered additional funding to countries in the region that would go along with Washington in its efforts to remove Maduro.
Today also it's my privilege to announce that the United States will provide an additional $56 million to support our partners in the region as you come to the aid of the Venezuelan people fleeing from the deprivation and oppression of the Maduro regime. The good people of Venezuela, seek your freedom. We will go with you. You go with God. Vayan con Dios.
Now, at this point, the turmoil in Venezuela has escalated in response to debate about whether or not to accept aid from the United States. The United States is trying to bring the borders of Colombia into Venezuela, as well as the border of Brazil. Now, from what we understand, there are supporters of Maduro and opposition activists, and they've been clashing with each other at these borders near the checkpoints. At least 4 people have been killed. There have been hundreds injured in the clashes. Quite a standoff and rather tense situation, with Mike Pence in Bogota condemning the Venezuelan government, calling Juan Guaido the legitimate leader, while many forces around the world are recognizing the elected president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, as the legitimate leader. So a clear difference of opinion in the international community, with the United States coming down squarely and solidly behind the forces that want to remove President Nicolas Maduro.